Mary is now joining.
Everybody turn them on.
Just at the bottom,
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, July 28th meeting of the Green Worcester Advisory Committee. My name is Mary Niddle, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. Before we begin, I want to go over the meeting rules and other logistical details. Tonight's meeting is in a hybrid format, which means that we have committee members, city staff, and community members both in person and online. This is a public meeting, and it is being recorded. The draft minutes are generally available for review and approval at the consequent meeting. Once an agenda item is called, there will be a brief presentation of the item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff, and then an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to committee discussion and action. The members of the public will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to speak in order to provide enough time for the discussion to keep the meeting on time. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair rather than directly to any of the other speakers or committee members. Each agenda has the opportunity for the public to speak on a matter not on the agenda for a limited amount of time, no more than 2 minutes, at the public participation / community engagement or standing items to be considered for placement on the next agenda. When an item outside of the agenda cannot be discussed by the committee may decide to take a vote to formally place the item for formal discussion on one of the forthcoming agendas. So our first item is to call the roll. Mary Niddle here. Evelyn Hurwitz.
Here.
Pat Austin.
Here.
Ted Connor.
Here.
Mary Leovich.
Here.
Steve McCauley.
Here.
And Deirdre Murphy. I see Deirdre. You can hear us though, right, Deirdre? Okay. Okay. Next, we have approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. Anybody have any comments or adjustments? Or we can take a motion to approve?
Through the chair, I sent some stuff in, but I was very late, so I don't know if that got to the rest of the committee. Was it an update or? I mean, there wasn't anything terribly controversial, but.
Yeah, we're good on the minutes.
You're good
Yeah,
on that.
They were pretty minor, so we accepted them, and so.
Okay, so
Recommend
what we're
that you-
accepting would include
Correct.
that. Okay, great.
So we have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
We have a second? Anyone opposed? Okay. On to new business, and we didn't slate any new business for this particular meeting. So we will move then to continued business, starting with the greenhouse gas emissions reductions project status.
So through the chair, wanted to just touch base real quick on that. We have gathered, for reference, this was a request regarding looking at other communities and seeing how we did relative to them. We've started to pull some of that data together. We've looked at some communities that are relatively local to us. We haven't gotten, I don't have all that data available yet for you to share, but we are on that process. The first rough glance looking at places like Cambridge and Lowell and Providence are that we are right in the ballpark of everyone else, probably doing a little better than most, to be honest, but still very preliminary. We also have some data that we're getting from CDP, which she whispered it and I didn't hear a word. Carbon Disclosure Project, CDP. And they take, it's a voluntary submission that a lot of communities do. And they have this data, and we will be sharing that data along with some other data that we have just from internal efforts for our next meeting. So we will have that for you. I will preface this now, and I'll preface it when we talk about it next meeting. This is people who have gone out of the way to publish their information publicly, which is sort of, as we all know, people typically don't publish those things if it's all bad news, so it may be a little bit slanted in comparison to the all communities of our size. But we'll have the data that we have, and you guys can take a look and we can talk about it if you'd like. And that's all I have on that.
Okay. Any questions? All right, we'll move on to the second item under continued business, the preservation of large existing trees, which was an item that we asked to put on an agenda at a previous meeting.
Yep, and so through the chair, there's no update from DSR, our department at this point. What I would ask for, if I could, and I'm not sure if Ted, if it was you or Mary or Evelyn, who put forward the motion specifically, but what exactly the ask was so that we can get back to you with the information you're requesting. We circled back to it, and to be honest, weren't entirely sure what we were supposed to be doing.
Ted?
Yeah, through the chair. I think, I know we spent some time trying to figure out exactly how to word it, but the goal is, what can we do to protect and preserve large existing trees? And, the goal, the objective is to look at what other communities are doing, just as models, because it's easier if somebody else has already invented the wheel. But I think that's what we were asking for, was just, the overriding goal is to, we're trying to plant trees everywhere, but if we don't preserve the mature trees we've got, we're missing something important in that equation. I have a couple things to add as well. Should I do it now on this subject, or does somebody else want to chime in? On trees, yeah.
I think that's fine.
Go now?
Yeah, go
So
ahead,
I've done a little more research. You remember last time I presented a half dozen Massachusetts communities that had tree protection ordinances. So today I stumbled on one that I missed last time, which is the city of Brookline, which is sort of tucked in next to Boston and a pretty wealthy place. Their tree protection ordinance, there's a couple of interesting things about it that I'll just mention, and it's very recent. The regs were just approved last month, passed in March this year. But they're protecting trees, public and private, of DBH 6 inches and greater. So that's, a lot of trees. That's not, I didn't find anybody who protects anything smaller than that in my searches. But here's what the other interesting things, and I sent a link. You can go chase this yourself if you like. The ordinance actually specifically references invasive trees, and it does provide protection for them subject to a reviewing agent. So it's kind of case by case. If their tree warden wants to say, take out those invasive trees, they can do it. But absent that kind of determination, it's protecting those trees as well. I thought that was interesting. The other thing that I thought was interesting that, might be controversial was that there's a specific thing in there that allows a private property owner to remove their own trees if necessary to install a solar energy system, which we've talked about before. Not exactly that, but I thought that was interesting. They actually put it in their ordinance. They're allowing, that's one of the exceptions. And the other exceptions are everything you'd expect, dangerous trees, dead trees, et cetera. And the last thing they're doing is, how on tree protection ordinances, it's often DBH for DBH. So if you take out a 6-inch tree and you're putting in 2-inch trees, you've got to put in 3 of them. So they're actually giving a lot of extra value to the large trees, and all the way up to the 55 inches or more, which is a massive tree. At that point, it's a 3-for-1 on the DBH. Smaller trees, it's 1.5 or 2-for-1 in the trees of 2 feet diameter and larger. So I thought that was interesting. And the final thing is I had a chance to read the article that Mary sent last time concerning Seattle and how they're trying to balance the need for housing infill development with preserving existing trees and mature trees. And the interesting thing in that article that I wanted to flag was that they actually talked about cases where they were salvaging mature trees, meaning, you're going to go to the trouble of digging it up and taking it somewhere else. Instead of planting a 2-inch tree, now you might be planting a 6 or an 8-inch tree. And I know from having researched this personally that that's not cheap. Like, it doesn't take much to spend $5,000 moving a good-sized tree. But if it costs $500 or $600 or $700 to plant a baby tree, and we can get a mature tree for the cost of several of those, it might not actually be such a bad trade-off in certain situations. And it might be one more thing we ought to think about looking at. You know, it's not wasting good trees. So those are my contributions to that discussion for today.
Thank you, Ted. Does anybody else have any thoughts or comments? Evelyn?
Just to, I think those are all great ideas. I think as we discussed last month, the Tree Commission, the Urban Forestry Tree Commission is digging into the ordinances. I know that's a priority for them. It has been, and I think it's going to continue to be for this year. They're not meeting again, I believe, until September. Maybe the best use of our time is to help them with whatever research support we can give them, but I'm not sure if discussing the details of ordinances in this forum is necessarily the right place to do it. I think they're the ones who have the expertise and the, dealing directly with the forestry division. And whatever ordinances they come up with, I would certainly hope we'd have a chance to weigh in on and at that point in time. So I guess I'm just trying to understand, Ted, where you see this going here.
My agenda is just to keep the conversation active everywhere. And I know it's their bailiwick and that our job is to support them. But we have our own public forum here, and it's, I'll leave it at that. I was no, I guess I won't, but I was as you know, I was attending those meetings pretty religiously for a while, and I did not find it the easiest environment to participate in. So, here we are with our own committee. So, is there any objection to putting it on the public record here? I'll go back there when the time comes, and it's important to do so. But I don't see any problem with putting it on the record here.
Do you want to go ahead, Evelyn?
Yeah, I believe that they're creating a whole database of ordinances.
That's great.
Around the country. It's been a while since I've had a discussion with them about it, but I know that there's been a lot of data gathering going on there, and the Brookline and Cambridge and some of the other, Newton, I think, and other cities are part of what they're looking into. So I think it's great for us to be very supportive of protecting mature trees in the city. That's a real issue for us because we have our urban forest that's aging. But I think our time is best spent reflecting or responding to what they come up with and attending those meetings to help them at this point. That's all. I'm not trying to say, let's not talk about it, but I just think in terms of getting into the details, it's probably best to wait until they, give them a chance to look into it and do the research they're doing. That's all.
Through the chair, as you said, they're not meeting again until September. I'm sorry?
Neither are we.
Well, I know, but we are meeting tonight, and this came up in June, and, part of my agenda is to keep the issue alive and, before the public and the whoever's listening. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, if they're compiling ordinances, who exactly would be the contact person to share the stuff that I've been able to gather? They've probably found most of it already, but maybe I found something that's useful to them.
Joyce, who's the chair. I can share that with you after the meeting, okay?
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay.
Through the chair, I have something on this topic.
Sure, is that Mary?
I was saying through the chair, I have something on this topic, if I could.
Sure, go ahead, Mary.
So I have kind of an opinion that slightly differs. Actually, Ted, thank you for bringing this up, and I know you were mentioning just like a spackling of what's out there. I have to be honest with the committee that before this I would have said, okay, be very passive about this particular topic, but it kind of perked my ears when I heard what is in my mind a false equivalency being made by one of the jurisdictions about trees for solar panels. And so for me, that was actually a little piece of information that might actually spur me to consider like dialing into a meeting that they might have on the topic just to be more informed about it, because otherwise I don't know how much equity I personally would have had in the topic, but that was mentioned. So there was some value to bringing that information up today, I think, Evelyn, at least for me, and I appreciate it and look forward to hearing more about those committee meetings and how other people learn about them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I think we didn't hear all of that super clearly, but I think the essence of it was that you appreciated having the topic brought up and that you were particularly piqued by the consideration about the solar panels and that shines a different light. I didn't hear what you said after that, so I don't know if you want to restate it.
Oh, just that I look forward to, sure, I just look forward to possibly, because I'm apologies to the committee and to the folks dialing in. I had to call in from the car because work ran late. So I was interested in hearing more about the organizations and committees that would be more closely linked to this topic.
Okay, thank you. And Jesse's confident that that transcribes right in the notes, so that's good. That's good.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I had trouble hearing much of that, and I'm wondering if Mary could just put it in chat and we could hear it read to us.
Yeah.
Because I hate to, she's going to the...
I don't think she expected, she just wanted to say that she was glad that the topic was brought up and that she didn't necessarily want any feedback
Okay,
on it.
well,
Is
I
that
mean,
okay,
just,
Mary?
I just want to know what she said.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Did you,
Through the chair, Ms. Niddle, through the chair, Ms. Niddle captured what I said correctly.
okay. That's good. Thank you, Mary, and thank you for going to great lengths to, to be with us. Be safe out there. Okay, so I think we're back to the conversation between Evelyn and Ted, where we know that the tree commission is meeting again in September. Do we have any action steps for the city at this time? We don't. Are we all in agreement with that? Do we have any action steps? It's very echoey in here today. I think we're all struggling a little bit. Do we have any specific action step requests for the city right now? Or are we waiting, we're letting the tree commission take the lead on as far as the preservation of the large trees that is in the agenda?
Well, I agree with Evelyn that we're letting them take the lead and we're supporting them 100%.
Okay.
Can we make that?
Are we all clear on that? Do we need a motion on that?
Should we make a motion to make it official?
Wait until we have some.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they know what we think.
Okay. So if we wanted to follow up on this next month, we'd take a motion. But if they're going to meet next month and we're going to meet next month, we should maybe skip a month and maybe next month agree that we can talk about it at a farther out meeting. Does that make sense? If needed. Okay. Okay. So the motion is that We are not putting, we're not asking the city currently for anything regarding the preservation of large and existing trees officially, because we are aware that the tree commission is handling that, and we're not going to put it on our next agenda. And if we want to put it on a subsequent meeting agenda, we can do that at a later time. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Through the chair,
Yes.
I'm in agreement with it, but I don't think we need a motion to not do something.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Jesse.
Through the chair. Just as a reminder, if anyone needs a reminder, we have our meeting rules here, but the goal is if we want something on a future agenda, if it's next meeting, if it's a future meeting, we want to take a vote on it. And so I thought you were saying, Ted was saying, after Urban Forestry Commission meets, we'll talk about it at the next meeting. So I thought that was the motion. You wanted it on the agenda for October, but it seems like that's not what,
No.
that is not it. Great, that's why it's good to confirm. Thank you.
That's good. We're clear.
No motion needed, thank you.
And through the chair, my thought was we could have a motion to just go on record that this committee strongly supports policies that protect and preserve large existing trees as a general statement. If people think it's sort of unnecessary, fine, or we can do it later. But it's just to support what they're doing, not to, cause any trouble.
Do you want to make that motion now, and we'll just do that, and we can get more specific if they get a more specific plan?
Evelyn's thinking we should, what are you
Through the
thinking?
chair, I'm just thinking, let's wait till we have something substantive to
Okay.
talk about and make a motion on. I think that just makes more sense.
Okay.
I'll defer to that.
Thank you, everybody. So, public participation and community engagement. Does anybody here or online want to say something?
Through the chair, this is Mary. I don't know if this is a topic that's useful to the committee or not, but I can let you all know that the district councilor, Ojeda, has met with us up in Cookson Park to try and clean that up and make it a nice public space for people around the city to come and enjoy a little bit of the country within the city. And so that meeting happened about a week and a half ago, and we've seen support from both him and Councilor Russell on top of College Hill. And, there'll be more information on those meetings to follow for community members to participate.
Mary, I'm sorry to say that I don't think any of us heard that clearly enough. I don't know.
Is this better? I'm sorry about this, everyone.
Oh, that's much
Is
better.
this better?
Yes.
Okay. So through the chair, I just wanted to let you guys know that Councilor Ojeda and Councilor Russell have both been very involved in trying to refresh and rehabilitate Cookson Park at the top of College Hill. And about a week and a half ago, Councilor Ojeda had been up there and met with Mr. Novak from Greater Worcester Land Trust and with me from Friends of Cookson Park to try and identify ways that the trail system and the trees can be cleaned up and the park preserved so that we can draw in more folks from throughout the city to enjoy those spaces. There's going to be a series of work events up there to help trim trees and clear trails and with the members of the community. And I thought the commission, the block would be interested because it is an outdoor space that we're not giving up on yet. And it's a nice, pleasant space we're trying to sustain. Over.
Thank you, Mary. We heard that loud and clear. That's beautiful. So are they working in conjunction with the city, or is it strictly volunteer?
Yep, so we spent some time during the last meeting trying to outline what volunteers would be capable of and what the city would be asked to assist with. And the city, I must say, the Parks Department's always been very helpful in our previous efforts up at Cookson. And so it's kind of a common vision of trying to keep the trail system and the animals and the trees healthy up there. So, so it's a combination effort.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. And we have someone in the room, for those of you online.
I'm Allie Hanrahan, I live in Worcester. I just want to make sure that all the information you're collecting also is available to the city, because otherwise they have to do things twice.
What do you mean by that, Ally?
Ted seems to have collected a whole bunch of different information and what happens in other towns. Is that being given to the city so they can use it, to the forest people?
Ted?
Through the chair, we all communicate between meetings, and it's readily available to them, and I just put it into a video that's on the city website. So, yes, it is. The goal is accomplished.
Great. Thank you, Ally. Okay. Do we have any other public participation, community engagement items? No? Okay. So we'll move on to our standing items for our task force updates. The decarbonization and benchmarks and goals. We've changed the members of this task force. So Mary Leovich, who has been very helpful on it in the past, is stepping away from this task force for the moment, and Steve McCauley is taking her place. So Steve and Ted and I have done some exchanging back and forth, not as much this summer because of vacations. But Ted, do you want to go ahead and summarize our work this time around? Or Steve?
We didn't meet, but through the chair, I can do.
We went back and forth on the...
We went back a little bit, back and forth, and I think the gist of, all right, let's see, you're going to have to help me if I miss this or get it wrong. I think
Well, some of it was about the project status of the greenhouse gas emissions.
yeah, well,
readiness.
that was the thing that John reported on earlier in the meeting through the chair, and that, we'll have more detail at a future meeting, which is fine. I think we are all in agreement that, number one, we need to find ways to put teeth in our greenhouse reduction goals, and number two, looking at what other successful cities are doing is a fruitful place to look. Is that a fair summary of that?
Yes, I think so.
Now, I have a little bit to add, if I may, but Steve, you were reaching for the button. No, go ahead. No, you. Okay. All right, well, I thought you were responding to that. I've got a couple things to share that's on the subject. This is coming from, it's a couple interesting things that I've found that are of interest. It's not coming out of a meeting or any particular process. But I thought you had something to say in the meantime, and...
Ted, I defer. Go ahead.
Okay.
But we should keep this to the update about what we've been doing, and if we want to bring something new, we should do that at the end to talk about it at a subsequent meeting.
All right, so it's relevant to decarbonization. You don't want to hear it now?
I mean, we can talk about it at our next task force meeting and and then have it on the next agenda. I think that'd probably be the appropriate thing.
All right.
Okay, thank you. And then for our other task force about sustainability and education, Evelyn?
Through the chair, we don't really have any more to report other than what was in the minutes for this past meeting, that the department had applied for an MVP grant that included a summer institute for teachers led by curriculum developers to help develop lesson plans that integrate DSR data into the curricula, because the teachers don't have the bandwidth to do it themselves. And so we're awaiting an answer. We have a few more days left to July. That's where we stand right now.
All right, thank you, Evelyn. So let's move to DSR project updates. Our first one would be then zero waste. I'll turn it over to John Odell.
Who will turn it over to Jesse Davis for the first item, which is our Zero Waste Master Plan Public Workshop recap.
Thank you, John. So we recently held our first 2 public workshops over the last couple weeks, and one was online and one was at the Senior Center. We had over 50 people participate overall, which we were happy with that turnout, and I wanted to thank the GWOC members who came. We had a great discussion at our table. Evelyn, Pat, and Mary, and Mary's husband joined, and we had some great ideas at our table, so thank you for your time and for coming. So the workshops, both of them included small group discussions on what's working and what residents and people who live and play in Worcester, what they want to see change in our waste management systems. So we had a small group discussion about that, and then we had people think about what their vision is for a future zero waste Worcester. And then the last activity was we had poster boards around the room, and you could vote on which policies, programs, and infrastructure you think would be beneficial to put into our plan. There were many on those lists, so people had little dots and markers where they could vote on them. And our consultants, Zero Waste Associates, led the workshops, and they've been compiling all of the notes and the voting and all of that. And so they'll be looking at all of that and then doing a deeper dive into the things that popped up as most popular. And our next workshops are coming up in September, so save the date. September 17th in person, that one will be at the library. And then the next week, the 23rd, will be online again. And they're both same time, 6:30 to 8. And those will be looking at the policies, infrastructure, and programs that were most popular that came up from the workshops and our survey. We did the resident survey in the spring, and then our consultants have also done many listening sessions with stakeholder groups in the city staff, external groups, nonprofits. So after doing all of that, they'll bring some of the initial findings and encourage the participants to share their feedback on those initial findings that may go into the plan. So more details to come, but just want to say save the date and thank you all for participating. We're making really good progress on the plan, and it's exciting to see it. Thank you.
Yes, Evelyn.
I just want to comment that it was a great meeting to attend. You know, it was really worth the time. We had a very lively discussion at our table, and it seemed like there was some real active participation by the other folks who were there. It was very well run, so I encourage others to take advantage and have your voice heard.
Pat, were you going to say something? No, sorry.
I agree.
Okay, then you can carry on.
So the next item on the agenda was waste characterization study, some preliminary results. These are not final, hence the term preliminary, but wanted to just share some of the high-level info that we've gathered to date through the work that was done so far. So here is on your screen there, hopefully the folks online can see. So back in April, there was 111 samples were collected. 22,000 pounds of waste was meticulously hand sorted into 50 categories. There was a funny aside that it technically was actually 51 for the Duncan's category, but that wasn't official. The waste characters study was the first study we believe that was done in the city of Worcester that was looking specifically at what is in our waste stream. And so if you look here, there's it's a little bit of an eye chart, but the point of this is to highlight is that in the green section there, food and other organics represent over 80%, over 50% of the total of the pie. So there's a tremendous opportunity there, food in particular, but other organics as well, to see if we can divert some of that from our waste stream, thereby saving us a fair bit of money on our tipping fees, and have that waste be used for compost or for other beneficial attributes that can be used by that waste. So saves money and provides a future fertilizer or other uses is what we're looking at, and so this is sort of driving the need for pursuing that effort. The next slide there sort of breaks it down from residential trash, and we'll go through some of the main categories that sort of made up that overall slide that you just saw. So residential, it's quite a bit less than half, but still a substantial, well over a fourth of the total is again represented by food and or organics. If you go to the next. Right. So my bad. I was just corrected. So the first I should clarify. It was from the waste that we collect. So this was from the waste we collect, which is from the 1 to 6 unit families. The next one, which we'll skip to here, is from 7+ units. So those are larger residential dwelling units. So the waste is less organic, but you can see there are more opportunities on the recycling side too, which is we discovered that there were fewer recycling opportunities at some of our 7+ unit multifamily buildings. Many of them didn't have any recycling opportunities, so that's why the ratios are a little bit different, predominantly.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you said what we collect, does the city not collect 7 units and above?
Good clarifying question. And the short answer is yes, we do not collect. So it's true. I should say that's accurate. We collect only 1 to 6 family. Anything 7 or above is collected by the multifamily property management company, organizes that separately on their own.
Thank you.
So on the commercial waste stream, again, you can see there's a substantial amount of food and organic waste that is for opportunity, but again, lots of other opportunities as well. As you can see in the other categories, including recycling as well as some bulky items and other kinds of waste that aren't categorized as a specific item, but yes.
Through the chair. For the commercial trash, is that including restaurants? Is that why the food is still a significant component, or is that?
That included commercial was a wide variety and included restaurants, but it included other entities as well. So it's hard to know exactly the exact representation of all those. I don't recall that off the top of my head, but that would be included. So it's not a surprise that there's a fair representation of food waste there. And then on the school side, we see where the pretty dramatic, obvious opportunity where over half is just food waste, and we have another 15% or so of organic. So it represents a significant portion of the total pie for school trash. That is a city public school that this represents. So another good opportunity. And that represents the overview that I'm going to share with you at this point. Obviously, like I said, very preliminary. We have to go through more detail as to how, not only how this breaks out by each of these categories, but what opportunities may exist, how this weaves into the whole. Every different categories have subcategories too that we will have to explore a bit as well. That'll all come out in the final report, which we are expecting to share sometime in September. So, any other questions on that before I go on to the woo bins?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, this data is totally astounding, this amount of waste that's organic and food waste. It's astounding. And I just can only see it as a huge opportunity, like you said. It's incredible. So my first question is, what is the tipping fee and how much money could be saved from that? Because that could be put into programming to do a lot of composting and things that can really aid the city environmentally in ways that are very deep. If we think about even like, you know, adopting a cyclical mindset about our waste, and that's so important for kids who are just learning to throw things out when it's not used. It's just that linear thinking of waste is just, we have such an opportunity here to close the loop and show them composting and throughout the city. So I just think it's a huge opportunity.
Through the chair, I could not agree more. We are looking into that very question specifically as to what the two things. It's related to what you just said. What is the price for us disposing of this and basically burning our food and other organics in the incinerator in terms of our tipping fees, and also the opportunities that could come out of that. But also what happens if we don't do this as well. I think that's another important side to look at, is if we don't move into this, what can we expect over the longer term as this problem doesn't get solved? There are repercussions, financial and otherwise, that we also want to make sure that we contemplate before we roll out any changes. But both of those pieces of the same coin are critical. We've asked that. It's a specific ask of our Zero Waste associates to help us ascertain what those numbers are. The timing is good because we are looking at contracts over the next few years that will be impacted by this information as well. So all good. The timing is actually helpful right now. So more to come for sure.
On the schools, I know I mentioned this before, and, you know, it's just one school, but Columbus Park we've worked with, and they're definitely interested in doing recycling. Also, we did a grant application for a variety of things that unfortunately wasn't funded. But one of the things, the principal, another thing she mentioned is she said they would like to do composting there. So again, just one school, but they're definitely interested.
Yeah, the good news is a lot of places are, schools and other organizations are interested in doing this. A lot of folks just need to understand better what the options are, how they can partake of them, what costs are involved, that kind of thing. But we obviously want to help provide that data so that people either can join an existing program, or if we decide that there's something we want to pursue as a city, how they can join that too. But that obviously is a bigger lift, and that won't happen overnight. But there are short-term options as well we want to be sure we share too. So as soon as the bigger picture becomes clearer, we can start doing that.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Ted?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I notice, I'm assuming, it's kind of a question, but tell me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that the per capita trash volume coming out of the larger residential is going to be greater because they have less access to curbside recycling. Is that true?
Through the chair, that in general, every 7 or plus unit has their own setup. Some do have recycling, but most do not, based on what we found. So in general, I would say your assessment is correct.
So that, that might explain, in that, on that slide, it looked like 40% of the trash is recyclable, give or take. I'm just guesstimating from the pie chart, but whereas on the 1 to 6, where we do collect in yellow bags and curbside, it looked like 25% of what's in the trash is recyclable. Still 25% more than it should be. But I'm thinking, I totally agree with everything Steve said about the huge opportunity of all that food waste. And the pie charts are different. It's not so much that the ones we're collecting in yellow bags produce more food waste. It's just that in the larger units, there's so much more recyclables, it makes the food waste look smaller. I mean, I'm guessing that that's the case, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to explain why it should be any different.
I agree. That's, through the chair, that's our roughest immediate assessment as well. Obviously, again, preliminary, repeating preliminary, but that's what we think may be the case also.
Anyway, it's not one but two areas of, where we could gain a lot of ground to, put less of those things in the trash, obviously. That's why we're up to this. So, and I take it all the gray stuff on the chart was the stuff that's really hard not to just treat as trash, because there was the other category must have had the other 40 little subcategories, and they're all various kinds of nasty.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? All right, so continue, John.
All right, well, moving on, wanted to give you an update on our WU bin, which are our dual stream waste bins that have been put out. As you have heard in previous meetings, we did a pilot of 30. That pilot is now complete, and we are moving forward with deployment of an additional 120 bins. The first wave of 50 some odd have already been deployed, and the next are going to be going out on August 1st. So by August 1st, we'll have all 150 out there. Last week, we installed bins on the Lincoln Street corridor, Shrewsbury Street, and Webster Square. And then this week, the ads will be mostly in the Main South area, Pleasant and Chandler Streets, and in the Elm Park area. I will reiterate that 150 is a very good start, but there is more need and more requests that we've received. Why can't we put a pin here? Well, we only have 150, and we can't put them everywhere, but we will look over the course of the summer and into the fall to see where bins might be better placed. If bins are not being well used, we might be able to move them into a different spot so that we can maximize the 150 bins. We have the effectiveness of those. The good news is, I'm happy to say, we are still seeing very low levels of contamination. We'll be adding artwork to the bins, so which will feature designs from local artists to 50 of the bins, and that was in cooperation with the Cultural Division. So they did a great job in terms of getting artists to participate, and we believe, some excellent submissions. So look for those soon. And that's it. That was sort of a quick end there, but that's basically the rollout, and we encourage feedback, and people have a chance to use them. Let us know what you think.
Great, thank you.
So moving on to the energy, if no questions on the WU bins. The next item is on our EV charging stations. We have a Mass CEC grant, if you recall, where we can able to acquire as many as 15 units at no cost to the city. Our consultants are doing site visits this week to determine the feasibility of those up to 15 new electric vehicle charging ports. We hope to install them by the end of 2026. It's based, the locations were preliminary based on a crowdsourced map that we put out. We got a lot of suggestions. We're trying to overlap that with making sure that the equity component, we're doing this in areas that don't have these already, that are in areas that typically don't have the opportunity to get them, and so we're cross-matching it across all of that, and we hope to get the final locations determined in the not-too-distant future, which we'll share as soon as they're done. And our next item, unless there's any questions to that, I'll turn it over to Jesse for our Smart Energy Advice update.
Thanks, John. So last week, we held our first webinar, which was very exciting, a new format for us to get out the word and educate folks about our Smart Energy Advice program. So we partnered with the WCAC, Worcester Community Action Council, their Energy Efficiency Program Manager, and the Green Energy Consumers Alliance. They're a nonprofit, and the topic was heat pumps for landlords. We were really excited. We had over 50 people show up for our first webinar, and lots of great questions and new contacts, and we had participants fill out a poll, so we're going to go through the poll results and see what type of heating they currently have and who lives in Worcester and who owns property in Worcester. So we're going to go through all of that and see how we can do more targeted outreach. And we're going to post the slides and the recording up on our website too as a resource for those who couldn't attend. We're going to be planning another webinar in the fall, continuing this partnership, and we haven't picked the topic yet. So to be determined. We wanted to see how this first one went, and then we're going to pick another topic and do that in the fall. So that's the webinar, and the other thing I wanted to mention is we're still doing our Energy Advocate office hours. We've noticed that they've slowed down during the summer, which makes sense. People's bills are typically higher in the winter. So we're doing less of them now, and then we're going to amp up our promotion again in the fall. And also think about, is there a different type of booking system that might be more friendly for some people than others? So we're working through that to see how we can improve it as we go. And hopefully our new booking system will work better in the fall for people. That's where we're at now, Smart Energy Advice. Happy to take questions. Thanks.
That's great, Jesse. Thank you. 50 landlords. That's really good. Wow. Okay. We'll move on to lakes and ponds.
So moving on then, yes, thank you, through the chair. So Indian Lake, folks may have noticed that that was in the paper recently. DSR and our Lakes and Ponds program, particularly Katie Liming, and myself, we met with residents that abutted Indian Lake and city councilors to discuss the overgrowth of a native plant in Indian Lake called Elodia. There are multiple factors, but the gist of it is that the alum dosing station, which we have officially got full use of starting this year. We used it a bit last year, but weren't able to start as early as we did this year. It wasn't until summer last year. Had a very positive effect in terms of removing some of the elements that cyanobacteria likes to feed on. That's what alum does, is it binds to the phosphorus and other material and pulls it down to the bottom of the lake. And it improved water clarity considerably in the lake, which typically is water clarity of in the 4 to 8 foot range, and now it was up in around the 12-foot range, which allowed more light in. And as a result, the Elodia, which is a native plant, grew exponentially more than it usually does. Now, that wasn't the only reason, but it was certainly one of the primary reasons. So as everything, especially with lakes and any water bodies, balance is a very tricky thing to maintain. There are many different parties, not just environmental, in terms of trying to manage one invasive, which is the cyanobacteria, with other plant invasives. We want to minimize that, maximize native growth, but also use of the lake itself by residents, abutters, and other people who live in and enjoy the lakes, who live in the city or surrounding towns. So balancing the use of the lake for them as well is another category that we're trying to make sure we do. Anyway, the Elodia, we ended up treating that with a very low-dose chemical herbicide to beat that down a bit. We did that reluctantly, but there was no really other option to do that in the near term, because the Elodia was actually to the point where it was, we had a boat that got stuck in it. There were mats of this stuff in the lake. It was making the lake quite unusable for residents and abutters. We treated it. The treatment worked quite well, almost too fast, which because it was too fast, the water oxygen, dissolved oxygen rather, in the lake went down, which caused a number of fish to die, a small number, fortunately, relatively speaking. But we obviously don't want any to die. The good news is we were able to get what's called what we are calling like a water lawnmower, lake lawnmower, lake mower, out, and that basically allowed us to remove some of that material from the lake, and as well, conditions improved naturally also. And so between these efforts, we were, as well as putting in an aerating machine in there, where the oxygen levels have returned, fish are doing well now, everything's back to normal, and the lake looks great. So it was a tough few weeks, for sure, but the upside of is that right now things are looking very good. The Elodia is in check. Cyanobacteria, at last we looked, is also in check. The lake is clear, so it's very user-friendly for boaters and swimmers and fishermen and anyone else who wants to use the lake. So as we sit here today, we're in very good shape, and we hope that continues. But again, it's a real challenge. I learned an awful lot. Katie Liming has been doing yeoman's work managing this effort to keep everything in balance. And sometimes an inadvertent win on one side has caused quite a bit of a headache on another side, and adjusting for that. But as we learn more, we'll get better at it, and so the process goes. Any questions or anything about that? I should mention too, one last thing, sorry, before take questions, is there were a number of requests at that meeting about doing a winter drawdown. We are actually allowed, turns out, to do a drawdown to manage native species if they become, if we have an outbreak like we did this year. So if they become a troublesome or a big nuisance, we are allowed to use a variety of methods to minimize that. And a drawdown is a tool that can be done for that. It's a blunt instrument, so it's not perfect, but we are going to be doing a drawdown this year of about 18 inches to start, and we'll adjust if need be, but first we want to draw it down, see what's exposed, which is what restricts the growth of some of these vegetation. If you expose it to cold weather, they don't grow as much. But you need to have them exposed, so we don't know if 18 inches will be sufficient. It might mean we have to go a little bit further. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. It might be a pun, I'm not sure. Anyway, I wanted to put that out there as well as just another piece that came up and how we plan to move forward.
Okay. Evelyn?
Through the chair, I'm just wondering to what extent the very hot weather contributed to this whole complicated chemical problem.
Yeah, through the chair, it didn't help. In terms of it helped speed the growth of the Elodia in particular. It also can sometimes be a spark for growth of cyanobacteria. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to date. Of course, we're about to go into just started another heat wave, so we'll see how things are at the end of the week. Runoff from rain also can contribute the material, the nutrients that both the cyanobacteria and of course the plants can thrive on. So it's again, we'll see how that all plays out in the not too distant future. But yeah, this sporadic heat and climate change are not making any of our jobs easier, for sure.
Ted?
How did you know?
Watching your hand.
Yeah, oh, did I? Okay. Yeah, I just, John and I talked about this last week when it was playing out, and I think there's no doubt that the application of the herbicide indirectly led to the death of some fish. And I completely acknowledge that ecosystems are complicated, and that makes managing them complicated. But the thing that struck me, the point I want to make, is that in the article that was in the paper, which, you know, actually was initially needed a correction, but there's a statement from the city, and I quote, "The application of herbicides is a common practice to reduce weed density and poses no risk to humans and animals after application is complete." And
Mary
this was,
Wieldridge.
I'm sorry?
Is now exiting.
Oh. This was in the statement from the city manager's office about this, in the same article that's describing how the application of an herbicide led to the death of fish. If the herbicide was applied properly, I believe. So if the properly applied herbicide sometimes leads to the death of fish, we can't keep saying that in the city's official statements. We can't say that it poses no risk to animals if it does. And, you know, I don't want to make a big deal of it, but it's important because when I read that from the city in the same article that I'm reading about what happened, I think if I'm an average citizen, it makes me distrust what I'm going to hear from the city, because it's obviously not true. So I would suggest, instead of saying that, we simply say that you know, if it's rare, say that it's rare. If it's the best we can do, it's an unintended outcome, but the overall picture is good, say that. There's a lot of ways to present the good news with the bad news without saying something that's just obviously not true. So I think that's important.
Through the chair, I think the distinction that was trying to be made is that it isn't a direct result, that the fish didn't die from the herbicide treatment directly. They didn't absorb the herbicide and were killed by the herbicide directly, which is the difference than the indirect method, which is what happened. And I would agree that that distinction is worth mentioning. And we'll make sure that anything that certainly comes from our office makes that distinction. But I don't want people to think, which is the other half of that coin, which I want to make sure people aren't fearful that that low dose of that herbicide will create direct exposure that could kill fish and/or harm humans or others, because that's not how that treatment works. So, with that clarification, we will certainly make sure to be as clear as possible going forward.
Through the chair. Thank you, John. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I just think, and you know, it's a lesson learned. Before this experience, I would have maybe read that and not guessed that there was a problem with that statement, but it just needs some kind of reworking so that nobody sees it and becomes cynical about what they hear from us. That's the important point. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, we can move on to the water chestnut polls.
Yeah, the water chestnut, volunteer water chestnut polls. So the Lakes and Ponds program co-hosted 3 water chestnut polls in 2025. We had a total of 75 volunteers that pulled out over 2,500 pounds of water chestnut from both Coes Reservoir and Lake Quinsigamon. That was very definitely a group effort that allowed that to happen. So I want to just formally thank, for the record, the folks at the Lake Quinsigamon Watershed Association, Tatanack Brook Watershed Association, Worcester State University, the Town of Shrewsbury, AMC Construction, the good folks at the city's own Parks Department, the Quinsig Rowing Association, and NUIPIC, which I did look up, and I was going to tell you what that stood for, but that's actually their name. The acronym is their name. It used to be New England Interstate, blah, 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 but 5 years ago, they made it their name. So they're NUIPIC. And they all collaborated, all these groups collaborated for these events. This is a great example of when you have a relatively small amount that you can use volunteers to pull this. It's it's a very effective solution on a smaller scale, and keeps things in check before they become big scale, which is what we obviously want to avoid. So thanks to all, and nice to see that we were able to do all 3 of those.
That's great, thank you. And our thanks to them also, that's great. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, we can move on to resilience.
So resilience. Our next topic is, first topic on resilience is the Miyawaki Forest, which I'll turn back over to Jesse to give an update on where things stand there.
Thanks. So we have 2 events coming up in August that I wanted to share. So the first one is August 21st, and we're hosting, it's a family-friendly event. It'll be at the library. We're going to do a Miyawaki 101 type of presentation inside the library, so you can come and learn the history of the forest and a little bit about them, and then go outside to see the McGrath Forest, the one that's in the parking lot right behind the library. And there will be kids' activities, a little scavenger hunt where the kids can see if they can find this type of flower, or plant, or a bee, or something like that. And then we're going to do a plant labeling activity and picking up litter. So it's going to be a variety of activities. We hope people will come and see how much the forests have grown in just a year, because people have asked, oh, what's happening with them? How are they doing? So you can come and check it out, learn a little bit more about them, and participate in the activities. The second event is on August 26th, and we're partnering with Clark on that one, specifically with John Rogan. He's helping us out, the professor there. He's helping us out with that. And that one will be more of a deep dive into Miyawaki Forest. It's a more academic lecture to learn about the methods and the plants, and also our forest too. But that's a deeper dive, and I think probably students and academics will be interested in that, but of course the public can come too. The next update is we're working on a video and audio project right now. Evelyn is one of the leaders in this project, so we're working with our consultants, BSC. We have a landscape designer, Casey Lee, that we work closely with. He helped design the forest actually, and is just super knowledgeable about them. So Evelyn and Casey Lee are doing the filming. She's interviewing him, and he's answering the questions. And our cable services department is filming. So we did one filming in May, and we're gonna do another one in August, and then pull it all together and make some short videos and audio clips. We're hoping that we'll be able to put QR codes on the fence in the forest, and promote it on social media and on our website, and so people can learn some quick things like quick Miyawaki, what is a Miyawaki forest, what is this native plant. You can just enjoy listening to that while you're walking around, or you can check it out on our website. So it's a work in progress. We're hoping to finish it in the next month or so, and we'll be excited to share how those clips come out. And thank you to Evelyn for her support and expertise in this. And one last update I wanted to share, if you haven't seen the forest, they're looking really great. So we hired contractors this year to help manage the weeds and keep the plants growing well. We hired Reimagined Roots. I know that we shared that earlier, but they've been doing great, picking up the litter, keeping all the invasives in check, picking the weeds, all of that, and they look really good. I also wanted to mention that the Master Gardeners are helping out again this year, led by Ellen Ferrante. She's quite a leader and advocate for the forest. So she's been organizing her volunteers to come for special events. So they're very dedicated, and we really appreciate their time as well. That's it.
That's great, thank you. Any questions for Jesse? No? All right. Stormwater.
So through the chair, so stormwater, we hired a consultant, the same consultant, BSC Group, and they're currently conducting an analysis on soil sampling of our rain gardens right now. Over the next few weeks, they'll continue with their site visits and complete further assessments of our 8 rain gardens. They're coordinating with site managers to pursue any ongoing maintenance activities that's been going on so that can be continued. Basically just getting the lay of the land with the expectation that more direct physical work will happen in the fall and then again this spring. But sort of like plan your work, work your plan. This is the planning stage, assessing what we've got and what to do next. So more to come on that. And then the last update I have for you is regarding mobility, which is the Complete Streets project, which is on Endicott and Bigelow Streets. That has been a project that the Department of Sustainability and Resilience started the initial planning for. And then we've handed it over, and now it's out to bid currently, which is a big milestone we've been waiting for, which is great. So we're hopeful that work will begin this fall. Specifics on terms of timeline and completion will be determined by that contract. It's about an 18-month contract, I believe, is what the expectation is, but we'll see how it plays out in reality, given a bit of a later start than we had hoped. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Anybody have any further questions for the department? It's a busy summer. No vacations. All right, then we'll move on to our last standing items. Do we have any items for consideration on future agendas from members of our committee? Ted?
Thank you. Yeah, I emailed a link to an article that appeared in the paper last week about the, I guess it's a statewide effort to get forever chemicals out of the materials that go into artificial turf fields, which I refuse to call turf fields because that's exactly what they aren't. Artificial fields. But a note in the article, the city has, I think, 5 of these fields, and it wasn't clear that anyone knows if there are PFASs in at least some of them, and it wasn't real clear to me that anyone knows or is certain what's being built now. I mean, I heard some people saying, oh, that stuff must be gone by now, you know, and others were saying, well, I'm pretty sure it's still in there. So what I was hoping for, and this came up a few years ago too, and I think it sort of died on the vine. It came up in one of our meetings, but I was hoping to get some kind of a report on what we actually know about that, what the city has, what it's building, and also that maybe we might discuss how we feel about all of that. Artificial turf fields, artificial fields.
Okay, I do remember that we talked vaguely about it once upon a time. I think
It's-
we were trying to decide what we were supposed to be doing.
It's 2 or 3 years ago, and I think we left it sort of asking for a report, and it kind of maybe got lost in the shuffle. I don't remember that we pursued it beyond one meeting, so.
So, go ahead, Evelyn.
I think it was in relation to Duffy Field, if I'm not mistaken. That's how it came up here. There
I
was,
don't remember.
anyway,
Yeah.
just context.
So then, Ted, you mentioned that you would be looking for some sort of a report. Would we be asking the city to provide us with what knowledge they have about which fields are artificial turf, and if they do or do not contain PFAS?
Yeah, I think that would be great if we could get that kind of information. And the other question I have is, you know, you hear arguments both ways about the climate impact of artificial versus a turf field. I'm inclined to, you know, well, let's just, never mind how I'm inclined. I think it, I think it would be good if anyone has really drilled down on that and come up with a conclusion about, you know, I mean, I'd like to know, I'm generally in favor of natural things, but I would like to know if there's some justification for building artificial fields, because I can think of a lot of reasons not to. Let me put it that way. So.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, through the chair. There's also the problem of microplastics, actually. So there, I agree with you, there's a host of problems. So, and there was just an article in maybe the New York Times about how artificial turf fields are exploding around the country, and it's not usually driven by children's health and well-being, really. It's driven by other factors. Usually they have to do with, I don't know what, the companies that are building them, usually, I think.
Yeah, cost and profit.
Yeah. So it might just be worth kind of keeping an eye on, I would say. I don't know if the city needs to generate a report right now, though maybe just a baseline about what we have, you know, what's currently there. I think you put it well, Mary, because otherwise I think just starting to keep an eye on this, if it is starting to become very prevalent.
And if there are any others in development
Right.
stages, new schools, et cetera.
Right, yeah.
Well, and through the chair, just following up on that, you said they're exploding. I believe someone said,
Yeah.
you said it's exploding. I feel when we bring it up, we think, okay, well, they built one, but maybe there won't be any more. It seems like there are going to be more. And if we think there ought to be a policy to try and avoid that, we need to take a look at it. So I guess I'm arguing for a little more than just keeping an eye on it. I'd like to get us out in front of it, because I think we can expect more of it.
So, we would be asking,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Can the audience weigh in? I forget.
Yes, you can. 2 minutes.
We put a native garden in at Coal Mine Creek Park, and in the parking lot, the city put in fake turf.
Okay.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah. Interesting. That looks like grass turf? Yes, and they have to. Okay. So it's more than just the sports fields. Thank you.
Through the chair, I mean, that's just the wrong look. And I just want to second what Steve said about microplastics. This is another huge exploding problem. Plastics are a problem, and, you know, we're looking for ways to recycle them. And here's an example where we're probably recycling into something that's going to become a new problem. And it's, you know, you leave plastic stuff out in the sun, and if you're not careful, you've got a yard full of microplastics. And here we're building entire fields out of it. So that's, Actually, we're getting into this conversation that I'm just asking to be on the next agenda, so maybe can we just do that and save it for next
Right.
time?
So let's formulate what we're going to ask for. We want to ask the city, one, to, if there is currently an inventory of artificial fields and native gardens, right? So one, we're curious because we're concerned about microplastics and forever chemicals. One, is there an inventory? And two, and if there is an inventory, we'd be curious about it, just to understand the size. And then two would be, what are the policies around new ones? Just what kind of review, if something that belongs to the city is under development, is anybody second guessing these items? And if there isn't, there
Through the chair,
probably is.
maybe just one other small detail would be, are there any other ones planned in the
Right,
works?
and are some under development currently?
And through the chair, as mentioned before, but what's driving it? What's driving the building of artificial fields? Because if we understand that, maybe we understand how to change it if we conclude it should be changed.
Okay. Is that? Yeah.
Yes, through the chair, it would be helpful before you vote, that is a not insubstantial project. I think we can certainly answer some of the basic questions, how many we have, are there any new ones planned, and if there's any specific criteria that is used to determine whether we go with an artificial field or a natural one. I think the deeper analysis that you've also requested of what are the drivers and any of the policy details that could come out of something like that is actually something that is much better served by I'm thinking one of our colleges or university student project that could run with this and do that kind of analysis, because there are certainly pros and cons on both sides. We don't have to list them here, but I think that's exactly the kind of analysis needs to be done, financial and otherwise. Which, to be fair to the topic, we need to listen to all of it, and our plates are quite full now. And I would think that this would be a fun project for a college and less fun for us given everything else. So if you guys are in agreement, you could add that as we could get you this information, I think this simple information for the next meeting, and then a follow-up would be we could propose that and circle back once we get an answer, which may be the next meeting, but it might not be for one till afterwards. It may have to wait until spring. We're in July, so some of the stuff may be all lined up, but we'll see what we can do and circle back on that. But if that's okay with you, we can amend that. I won't repeat that in the form of a motion, but I think you guys heard and get it. And I've written it down here. So if you're amenable, I think we just need a vote to say so and we'd be good.
So the preliminary
Right.
information.
So preliminary
next
information
meeting,
by the next
ideally.
meeting, and a reach out to colleges, local colleges, universities, to see if there's interest in pursuing this, a deeper project and looking at the analysis.
And then that depends a little bit too on what data you do have. Is there an inventory, et cetera, right? So, everybody, do you want me to restate that, or do you think we have enough information? Okay. So we need a motion to put this on the agenda for next time around?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Steve, in a second? Evelyn? Anybody opposed? No, okay, that's good. This system's working really well. Do we have any other items for future agendas that anybody wanted to bring up? For right now? Okay. Then let's move on to upcoming events that are not city organized. Does anybody have any that they would like to share? Ted?
Through the chair, yeah, this was all, it came to me in an email, but then I saw it was also reported right up in the top of the Green Worcester News. The series of 3 Worcester Native Plant Initiative garden tours in August. The dates are August 1st, August 22nd, and August 29th. And the details, I think, are in the Green Worcester News. So I just wanted to mention it again here. Seemed like the right place to do that.
That's the right place. Good idea. Thank you. Evelyn?
This isn't upcoming, but it's a shout out to Clark University for the HERO project that they completed this summer, which included both an inventory or an assessment of tree health in Leominster, but it also included a survey that was done at the city's request. It was part of discussions that we've had to collect or get a sense of attitudes towards tree planting in Maine South and Green Island as we're headed into a much more aggressive tree planting project. And it was a great piece of work. The students did a terrific job, and I just want to say thank you formally to the students and John Rogan and Deb Martin of Clark University.
That's great. Thank you, Evelyn. Any others? No? There being no other items on the agenda, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ted, a second?
Second.
Steve, anybody opposed? Thank you, and we will look forward to seeing you all at our next meeting, September 8th, 2025. Is that here, in this room? I have a feeling? Yes,